In the heart of Colombia, in a small town called Rio Negro, a boy was born on December 1st, 1949. His name was Pablo Emilio Escobar Gaviria. No one could have imagined that this innocent child would one day become the most feared name in the world of crime. Even as a child, Pablo was restless. He disliked rules, questioned authority, and often found clever ways to get what he wanted. He sold old-school exam papers, stole gravestones to resell them, and traded small items on the streets of Medellín. He was not just mischievous, he was strategic. When Pablo was in his teenage years, Colombia was already burning with violence and inequality. The rich ruled with iron hands, while the poor struggled to survive. Escobar saw this chaos not with fear, but as an opportunity. He once told his friends, "One day I'll be the president of Colombia, or I'll be rich enough to buy the president." At school, teachers noticed Pablo's sharp mind and persuasive charm. But they also saw his growing arrogance. He preferred leading rather than learning, and manipulating rather than obeying. The seeds of his future empire were already planted, not in money, but in mentality. He was fascinated by the power of respect, or rather fear. In his neighborhood, those who had guns were respected, those who had money were untouchable. Pablo understood early that in Colombia, power didn't come from the law, it came from control. By the age of 16, Escobar's ambitions had outgrown his town. He dreamed of Medellín's streets filled with his name, of wealth beyond imagination. He began his first real business, selling stolen cars and cigarettes. It was the beginning of a dark journey that would soon engulf an entire nation. Before he became El Patron, before the world knew his empire of cocaine, there was a boy in Rio Negro, clever, poor, and endlessly ambitious. His story reminds us that monsters are not born in darkness. Sometimes they are raised in the daylight of forgotten dreams. By the early 1970s, Pablo Escobar was no longer a restless boy. He had become a man with a plan and a vision that would shake Colombia to its core. The streets of Medellín whispered his name, not as a student, but as a dealer, a smuggler, a rising power. Where others saw risk, he saw opportunity. Where others feared the law, he bought it. In 1974, Escobar made his first big move, kidnapping a businessman for ransom. When the man was released, Pablo had earned $100,000, his first fortune. With that money, he bought trucks to transport goods, though soon, those goods would be cocaine. The world was changing. In the 1970s, cocaine became the drug of the rich, a symbol of power and pleasure. Escobar saw it not as poison, but as profit. With partners like Carlos Leder and the Ochoa brothers, he began building what would become the Medellín Cartel. By 1976, Pablo had married Maria Victoria Henao. He was 26, she was only 15. By the late 1970s, Pablo Escobar had built more than a cartel. He had built an empire, one that would stretch from the mountains of Colombia to the golden shores of Miami. His dream was no longer just money, it was domination. Escobar's operation was elegant in its simplicity. Cocaine was produced in hidden laboratories deep within the jungles of Colombia. Then, using small planes, it was flown through the Caribbean into Florida. Each flight carried hundreds of kilos, each kilo worth more than its weight in gold. In the early 1980s, cocaine flooded the streets of Miami. It was the new luxury, the drug of Wall Street, Hollywood, and the rich. The Medellín cartel earned more than $70 million a day. Miami's nightclubs glittered, its banks overflowed, and its morgues filled. Escobar was not alone. Alongside him were the Ochoa brothers, Carlos Leder, who controlled the Norman's Cay Island in the Bahamas, and Jose Gonzalo Rodriguez Gacha, known as El Mexicano. Together, they built a network that controlled 80% of the world's cocaine traffic. The money was unimaginable. Escobar's warehouses overflowed with cash. Rats ate millions of dollars. He spent $2,500 a month on rubber bands just to wrap his money. He bought planes, farms, and entire neighborhoods. He was becoming a legend, half Robin Hood, half devil. But power breeds blood. In Miami, rival cartels and distributors began to fight over Escobar's roots. The city turned into a battlefield. Gunfights erupted in broad daylight, in parking lots, shopping malls, and hotels. Miami became the murder capital of America. The US government couldn't ignore the chaos. The DEA launched Operation Swordfish, targeting the cartel's financial networks. Miami police formed special narcotics units. But Escobar's reach was long. For every arrest, 2 new smugglers appeared. Escobar ruled his empire through fear and loyalty. He rewarded those who served him and destroyed those who betrayed him. His motto was clear: plata o plomo, silver or lead. You take the bribe or you take the bullet. In Colombia, he became a hero to the poor. He built houses, schools, and football fields. People called him Don Pablo. They said he cared for the people more than the government did. But beneath the generosity was an ocean of blood. By the mid-1980s, Escobar was one of the richest men in the world. Forbes listed him among the top 10 billionaires. He had influence in Colombia's Congress, judges in his pocket, and an army of killers at his command. The boy from Rio Negro now ruled an empire of fear. But power has a price. As Escobar's empire expanded, so did his enemies, the Cali cartel, the Colombian government, and the United States. The walls of his golden kingdom were beginning to crack. And for the first time, Pablo Escobar began to feel fear. By the early 1980s, Pablo Escobar was not satisfied with being just a drug lord. He wanted something greater: legitimacy, respect, power that came not from fear, but from politics. In 1982, Escobar entered Colombia's Congress as an alternate member. He wore fine suits, spoke softly, and promised hope to the poor. He built housing projects, schools, and soccer fields. To many, he was a savior, the man who gave where the government had taken. But behind the charming smile was a growing shadow. Journalists began to question where Escobar's money came from. One brave man, Rodrigo Lara Bonilla, the Minister of Justice, dared to expose the truth. Pablo Escobar was a narco, a murderer, a criminal hiding in plain sight. When the truth surfaced, Congress turned against him. Escobar was expelled from politics. His dream of legitimacy was shattered. In April 1984, Minister Lara Bonilla was assassinated, gunned down in his car. The message was clear: those who stood against Escobar would not live long. After the murder, the Colombian government, with US support, declared war on the Medellín cartel. Escobar responded in his own way: bombs, assassinations, kidnappings. Judges, police officers, politicians, no one was safe. Colombia bled every day. The US demanded extradition to bring Colombian drug lords to American prisons. For Escobar, that was a fate worse than death. His slogan echoed across Medellín: "We prefer a tomb in Colombia to a cell in the United States." Escobar unleashed a wave of terror. He bombed airplanes, police headquarters, and government buildings. Over 4,000 people died. Fear became law. Even the president's palace trembled at the sound of his name. In 1991, the government made a desperate deal. Escobar would surrender, but only if he could build his own prison. They called it La Catedral. It had a soccer field, a bar, a jacuzzi, and a panoramic view of Medellín. The king was in his castle once again. But peace built on lies cannot last. From inside his luxurious prison, Escobar continued to control his empire, ordering murders, collecting money, ruling as before. The government had caged his body, but not his power. The war was far from over. When Escobar tortured and killed 2 of his own associates inside the prison, right under the government's nose, it was the final insult. The state decided to transfer him to a real prison, but Pablo Escobar would never allow anyone to cage him again. On a foggy July night, Escobar escaped from La Catedral through a hole in the fence. He vanished into the mountains surrounding Medellín. The government had been humiliated once again, and the hunt for Pablo Escobar began. This time, the hunt was not just by the police. A new enemy emerged. Los Pepes, a vigilante group made of Escobar's former rivals, victims, and even ex-cops. They swore to destroy everything and everyone connected to him. Escobar's empire collapsed piece by piece. His allies were captured or killed. His family, wife, son, and daughter lived in constant fear, moving from house to house protected by his dwindling men. The king of cocaine was now a fugitive, hiding in the shadows of his own kingdom. In the depths of the Colombian jungle, Pablo Escobar drove for hours with his family. The road was narrow, surrounded by thick trees and endless darkness. At last, they reached an abandoned house, isolated, forgotten by the world. That night, the cold crept in through the wooden walls, the wind howled, and the rain fell hard on the roof. Little Manuela shivered beneath her blanket, her tiny hands trembling. Escobar looked around desperately. There was nothing to burn, no firewood, no candles, only stacks of cash, the very symbol of his empire. Without a word, he took a handful of bills, struck a match, and set them alight. Flames danced in the dark room, painting their faces in flickering gold. As the paper money burned, the air filled with the smell of smoke and loss. In that moment, the world's richest criminal was just a father burning millions only to keep his daughter warm. After days of running, Escobar had finally found a moment of silence. He had left his family in a safe house hidden deep within the hills. Alone, he took shelter in a small, dusty home at the edge of Medellín. For several nights, he barely slept. The walls echoed with memories, the laughter of his children, the whispers of the empire he had built and lost. On the 3rd day, he picked up the old telephone beside his bed, a single call to his son. His voice trembled as he said, "Mi hijo, don't forget who you are." That one call changed everything. Miles away, hidden in helicopter and command centers, DEA agents and Colombian intelligence teams had been tracing radio signals for months. The moment Escobar's voice reached the line, a red dot blinked on their radar. Orders were shouted, helicopters lifted into the air. The hunt had begun again. By afternoon, the house was surrounded. Escobar grabbed his pistol and rushed to the rooftop, his last escape under the burning Medellín sun. Bullets cut through the air. He returned fire, desperate, fearless, a man who had once ruled an empire, now cornered. Then, a single shot. Escobar fell, his body collapsing beside the red tiles. The gun slipped from his hand. For a moment, time stood still. The rain began to fall, mixing with the dust and blood. The most wanted man in the world had met his end. Not in a palace, but on a rooftop, alone. After that moment, Medellín was filled with mixed emotions, joy among the DEA and police, but sorrow among the poor. Pablo Escobar was gone.